Have you ever manifested something so perfectly that you were living inside your manifestation, without even realizing it? What if I told you that the only detail your imagination truly cared about wasn't the place, the country, the size of the apartment, or even the view, but the feeling? Stay with me, because this story might completely change the way you think about manifestation, visualization, and the law of assumption. And if you're someone who wants to manifest your dream life using the teachings of Neville Goddard, be sure to subscribe and join our growing community. We share real manifestation stories, practical techniques, and powerful insights to help you consciously create the life you desire. Now let's begin. About a year ago, someone developed a simple bedtime routine that seemed almost insignificant at the time. Every night before falling asleep, they replayed the exact same imaginal scene in their mind. Nothing elaborate, nothing dramatic, just one short scene, repeated consistently night after night. In their imagination, they were standing on the balcony of an apartment overlooking the sea. It was early morning. They were wearing a comfortable robe. A warm cup of coffee rested in their hands. They were quietly reading a book while enjoying the calm silence of the morning. Their partner was beside them. At one point, the two of them embraced while looking out at the beautiful view together. It wasn't a scene filled with excitement. There were no luxury cars, no piles of money, no celebrations. It was simply a peaceful morning shared with someone they loved. Interestingly, they weren't even experiencing the scene through their own eyes. Instead of imagining it from first person, they watched themselves and their partner from about 3 or 4 meters away, almost like watching a beautiful scene from a movie. Many people wonder whether manifestation only works if you visualize in first person. This story proves something important. Even though the scene wasn't first person, the emotions felt incredibly real. They could genuinely feel happiness. They felt peaceful. They felt loved. They felt completely content. And that's what mattered. Every single night, before drifting off to sleep, they returned to this same scene. Again, and again, and again. Eventually, they stopped doing the visualization. Life became busy. The routine faded away. And after enough time passed, they completely forgot about it. Months later, around March and April, they and their partner began searching for an apartment in Cologne, Germany. If you've ever searched for housing in Germany, or many parts of Europe, you already know how unbelievably difficult the market has become. Finding an apartment in a major city can feel nearly impossible. It's common for hundreds of people to compete for a single apartment. Imagine arriving for a viewing only to discover around 200 other applicants, hopping to secure the exact same place. That's the reality many people face. By this point, their boyfriend, who is now their husband, had become extremely discouraged. Every rejection made the search feel more hopeless. Eventually, they even expanded their search outside of Cologne because finding a place within the city seemed almost impossible. Then one day, while he was away on a work trip, he came across a new apartment listing and sent it over. Ironically, there was no excitement. In fact, the first reaction was disappointment. Looking at the online photos, they actually disliked the apartment's interior decoration. The decor simply wasn't appealing. Nothing about the listing screamed, "This is the one." But they decided to attend the viewing anyway. Here's where things became truly remarkable. This wasn't their 10th viewing. It wasn't their 20th. It wasn't after months of endless searching. It was actually the very first apartment viewing they attended during the entire search. They walked in with average expectations. But the moment they stepped inside, everything changed. They absolutely loved it. They submitted one application. Just one. And somehow, against incredible odds, they got the apartment. Think about that for a moment. One viewing, one application, One, acceptance. Considering how competitive the housing market had become, it almost seemed unbelievable. Time passed. They settled into their new home. Life continued normally. Morning after morning, they would wake up, make themselves a cup of coffee, walk out onto the balcony, sit down with a good book, enjoy the peaceful atmosphere, spend slow, relaxing mornings outside, share those quiet moments with their partner. This became their routine. Not for a day, not for a week, but for nearly 2 months. Then one morning, during meditation, something extraordinary happened. A sudden realization appeared. It hit them instantly. This is that apartment. The apartment from the imaginal scene. For 2 whole months, they had been living inside the manifestation they had imagined over a year earlier. Yet somehow, they never noticed. Then came the funniest realization of all. The view wasn't the sea. It was the Rhine River. They couldn't help but laugh. Because for so long, they had believed that the sea view in their imagination meant this manifestation would eventually happen somewhere outside of Germany. Their logical mind had quietly created a limitation. It assumed, obviously this can't happen here. But imagination had never agreed with that assumption. Imagination wasn't attached to geography. It wasn't attached to countries. It wasn't attached to maps. It wasn't attached to labels. It was attached to something much deeper. The feeling. And that's where this story becomes incredibly powerful. The apartment itself wasn't some giant luxury penthouse. In fact, objectively speaking, it was actually a little smaller than what they would ideally have wanted. But they genuinely loved living there. And then another realization surfaced. They had never imagined the apartment size. They had never visualized the kitchen. They had never imagined the layout. They had never pictured the furniture. They had never focused on the interior design. None of those details had ever appeared in the imaginal act. Only a few simple elements existed. A balcony, a beautiful view, a cup of coffee, a book, an armchair, their partner, and above all, a feeling, peace, love, contentment, fulfillment. That's all imagination ever needed. So often, people become obsessed with forcing every tiny detail. They worry about the exact location, the exact timing, the exact person, the exact circumstances, the exact path. But perhaps that's not the point at all. Perhaps imagination is less interested in reproducing every physical detail, and far more interested in delivering the emotional experience you accepted as real. This story beautifully demonstrates something Neville Goddard taught repeatedly. Feeling is the secret. Not because feelings magically create reality on their own, but because the feeling reflects the state you have accepted as already true. When you consistently occupy that inner state, life has an incredible way of arranging circumstances that your logical mind could never predict. The conscious mind may think it knows the only possible route, but imagination isn't limited by logic. It doesn't care whether the view is an ocean or a river. It doesn't care whether the apartment is in another country or right where you already live. It only knows the experience you've accepted within yourself. That's exactly what happened here. For 2 entire months, they had been living the emotional reality they once imagined before finally recognizing it. When everything clicked during meditation, they were completely shocked. Looking back, they realized this had become one of the most amazing manifestations they had ever experienced. And maybe that's the biggest lesson hidden inside the story. Your manifestation may not arrive exactly how your logical mind expects. It may wear different clothes. It may appear in a different city. It may come through completely unexpected circumstances. Some of the details may surprise you. But if the feeling matches the one you lived in imagination, then your manifestation has already arrived. So here's a question for you. If your desire were already fulfilled tonight, what simple scene would imply that it's done? Would you be drinking coffee on a peaceful balcony? Would you be wearing a wedding ring? Would you be checking your dream bank account? Would you be laughing with someone you love? Choose one simple moment. Make it vivid. Feel it as natural. And allow life to handle the details. Because as this story reminds us, imagination doesn't need perfect details. It only needs your acceptance of the fulfilled feeling. If this story inspired you or changed the way you look at manifestation, let us know in the comments by sharing your biggest takeaway or your own manifestation experience. We'd love to read it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next manifestation story or Neville Goddard teaching. Until next time, keep imagining lovingly, keep living from the end, and remember, your inner world is always creating your outer reality.